Tech Stack Bloat.
Mm-hmm.
Paula, this has been a key topic with our clients this week. Let's talk about it. Hmm.
Yeah, we've both had some very interesting conversations this week on exactly this topic. So let's dive in. I'm Paula Scaper from 33 Dolphins.
And I'm Susan Goebel from Scaling Management Consulting Group. And Paula, you told me when I said, oh my God, I had 4 or 5 people at one day telling me about this and really talking about this conversation. You said you'd also had a combo. Tell us
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, so I was giving a workshop for a not-for-profit, and we were talking about, AI and AI adoption and all sorts of things. And the CFO shared that their budget for technology has just exploded. And his concern, we were talking about like what are the things that concern you about new technology. And his one of his big challenges was how do we manage and mitigate this ever exploding cost of tech? And when I think about it, when I was running my agency, my tech stack was more than a person's salary every month.
Oh my.
Like I had an expensive tech stack.
Huh. So it's kind of funny. I remember you talking to this guy. I didn't remember that it was at a conference, an event,
Mhm.
workshop. I was doing the same thing. So I wasn't talking about the same subject you were. I was actually talking about end of the year and the type of year that it's been and cash flow and uncertainty and how do we protect our margins and keep our profit. And I said, one of the first things that I really like to do when I go in and talk to a client
Mhm.
is talk about the tech stack because it's always bloated. And I had 20 people going this and shouting yes. And it was very interesting to talk to them after the event was done because they were all commenting on the same thing. Now, they weren't necessarily as bad as one of my clients. This has got to be my number one. A two-man team, 750 subscriptions. The guy
Oh,
absolutely loved to try out new tools. It was exciting, right? It is very cool and very exciting. And all of a sudden, when these SaaS companies do this, right? You enroll for your
yeah.
free trial, you have to usually put in a credit card
Yeah.
because then it
Oh, yeah.
automatically, and this is what this guy did every time there was a credit card. And when he had decided, I don't really want that tool, he hadn't canceled it in terms of the
Hmm.
billing and the credit card. And of course, he wasn't the one who was doing the books. So he never really thought about it, never gave it a heads up. It's like, wow, 750 tools. That's a lot.
Even at $10 a month,
Yes.
that's $7,500 a month
And
on
none of them are
tech.
10 a month. None of them are 10 a month.
No, I know.
So I had a second uh,
Wow.
email come in. One of the clients that I had that I had, had insisted that
Hmm.
they do this process of, understanding who's on what seat and what the tool is, why it's being used, and making sure the different departments don't have the same purpose and different tools, right? We can get some nice synchronicity going in the data. Um, I just made her go through the first part of this process that I put my clients through by gathering the data and the information. Literally the day after, she had a client, pardon, not a client, one of her team members come to her and go, I'm out, 6 days notice. It's like, and I always said to people, there's two
Oh,
big bonuses for doing the process. And the first step in particular about gathering the information because you now have an onboarding and an offboarding chart. So she's like, it was easy to offboard this person because we knew exactly where things were going. The second big bonus that I like to talk to people about, obviously, money is a big one, right?
hmm.
HR onboarding and offboarding is another big one. But the third one is data leakage. Less important 10 years ago, far more important now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, data leakage and security, right? Because how do you keep track of your data security if you have this hugely bloated tech stack and passwords all over the place? It's not easy.
It's crazy. Well, and
Yeah.
data leakage, I was thinking about this summer. when I had a I keep calling them clients, when I had a team member leave. And
Hmm.
so this summer, when I had a team member leave, I was doing some gathering of information to make sure that I was looking at, who's got access to files, who's got, all of this for an offboarding process. It occurred to me during one of those little, hey, I wonder what's over here, that I was still in a former client's tech from 5 years ago. I still had access to all of their financials, their legal stuff, their leadership team pieces. Nobody had closed the door when I left.
I've had the same thing. I have had the same thing happen where you're a year, 18 months out, and you go, and of course we all have those password keepers now because there's so many passwords, right? And so you go to log into something, and I've had the same thing where I had a new client, and they had um, given me access to their platform, which was the same platform that an old client had used. And I went to set it up, and I was automatically logged in, and I'm like, what? Why do I still have access? Why is this still showing up as my um, you know, in my like that I'm authorized to come in here? How many other pieces? And I will also tell you, the first thing I do with a client when we get past the strategic planning process and we start going into guided implementation is we go through their tech and we make sure that everybody who has access has a reason to have access. Do you want to know what the worst place is? People's websites.
Really?
I have gone into the back end of a client's website as part of an audit and found a dozen people who should no longer have access. Employees of past agencies, um, agency production team accounts, past marketing managers, past um, shipping managers for e-commerce sites. These people can get into your back end, create an order, ship an order, mark an order as processed. Like, not that they would. And I think, there's a lot of business owners, especially in small, and small, I mean, sub 10 million, family owned business. Everybody's, them. You're not worried, right? It feels cold when someone leaves to shut down their account. But the reality is, it's not them that you're worried about. It's the integrity of their password.
Mhm.
Because when they have left your organization, they are no longer thinking of themselves as part of that organization. And so if their laptop is compromised, if their, what have you is compromised, your password could leak and they wouldn't think to notify you. And so it could be a bad actor who gains control of that account, not the person who's left your organization, not the consultant who's left your organization. Um, yeah, it's a rough one. That data leakage one is yeah, like, it's a security issue.
It is. What's funny to me though is that you and I looked at this from, and this is why I love having conversations with you, a very different lens.
Yeah.
So I was talking about something that was not even password protected.
Wow.
Worse, by the way. But the most recent stat that I heard, how about this, everyone, for the best stat? 46% of team members have a personal Chat GPT account. They take your data, they download it, they upload it into Chat GPT, and then they do whatever they want to do there. And then they go ahead and they finish whatever the project report, etc., email, whatever it was. And when you think about this, do they do they cleanse the data? Is it anonymized data or is it not? I mean, chances are pretty good it's not, right? Do they even have a thought process about maybe I shouldn't be doing this in my own personal accounts? And how many people have their own personal laptops now? I mean, 20 years ago, if you worked for a company, they gave you the device, and on the day that you were no longer there, you gave the device back.
Hmm.
But that's not how it works anymore. And so now, whether it's my phone, my iPad, my tablet, my laptop, I don't even know what other things you would throw it on, but I'm sure there's many. And now, with all these different places that it can be, how do you keep your data secure? It's tough.
It's hard. It's very hard to do. And I think the most important thing companies can do is have clear policies and guidelines
Mm.
for people in terms of what they can and cannot do um, with sharing company data. And then we get into legal issues, and you probably want to talk to your HR advisor about what you can do in terms of when someone leaves your organization, making sure that their personal devices are cleaned. But password protection, critical. And tech stack bloat. I mean, back to our original topic, not paying for technology that you're not using is huge. It really is. And one of the ways when I was still running my agency, one of the ways that we really experienced tech stack bloat was because we would hire somebody new into the organization, and people would come into the organization with a skill set in technology they were comfortable with or familiar with. And human beings, we experience the learning curve of new technology not as I have to learn this, but as this thing doesn't work. It doesn't work the way I think it should work because it doesn't work the same way the last technology. And we blame the technology. And our instinct is this tech is bad. I want to use what I used before. And I would have, oh my God, arguments sometimes with young staff that came in that wanted to use something different and couldn't understand why I was no, absolutely no. And that was my rule. It was like, here's the rule, here's the rule. You must use our tech stack for a minimum of 90 days. And you must become competent in our tech stack. If at the end of 90 days, you can come to me and make a business case for transitioning the tech stack to something that you believe is better, I will consider the business case. And if the ROI is there for me to make the expense, we'll transition. But the whole company will transition, not just you. If the business case isn't there, you use our technology. That's just the way it is. And I think it's something that, in part, we should be training more people about, even in university. Some of the things, business schools don't teach stun me in terms of just their practical common sense pieces, things like that. Why these are important, like what are the issues around it. But that was the hardest one for me to control, because and what brought it up for me, Susan, was you talking about ChatGPT's free account. So many SaaS platforms have a free version of the account. And so people will default to, on their personal device, a free version of something that they are comfortable with because it's more efficient early on. It feels more efficient early on, and not out of malice. It's just not understanding the downstream consequences of, having the tech stack so distributed. And then the next thing you know, they're getting approvals, and now you have all of these subscriptions. Why do I have 20 of these? I just need one. And I thought we agreed a year ago this was the one we were going to use.
And it's across departments, right? If
Yeah.
you have a company with enough people, then, and I'm thinking more than 10, because it doesn't have to be a lot for sales to be doing something, marketing to be doing something, finance to be doing something, all experiencing the same pain point, note taking, for examples. And they've all got different subscriptions because they didn't actually connect, communicate, coordinate between the different departments and divisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes I will say, sometimes that's not such a big deal for certain purpose built apps, right? if you're not getting an enterprise license, if you're not big enough to have an enterprise license for something, and it's $10 a person, and the people in this department like app A, and the people in this department like app B, as long as those documents are exported to a consistent format that can be stored, right? That is not the end of the world. It really isn't. But at the same time, if you're not exporting, if you don't have that discipline around it, it can be a real issue. One of the things that I have my clients do, and I do it to this day, even in my own practice, I do an annual, excuse me, I do an annual technology review. And so I go through all of the tech that's in our P&L, all of our expense, and I go through my company credit card statement
Yep.
and I highlight every tech line. Every December, I highlight every tech line and I make a decision. Do I still need this technology? Number one. And number two, if I still need this tech, is it still worth the cost? Because the other way, and we haven't talked about this, but the other way your tech budget bloats is with those little, and they're not so little, increases in pricing that just show up on your credit card statement without any conversation whatsoever. So, um, my Adobe subscription as a great example. I'm not a designer, I'm not a graphic designer, but I've had an Adobe subscription since I had my agency. And when I shut the agency down and moved into consulting, I kept it because there are about 10 instances a year where it's actually quite useful to have. So I've kept it. Well, I just looked at I was just starting my tech audit, and my Adobe subscription is going up again. And so it's now well over double what it was a couple of years ago. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you're now charging me more to subscribe to this software annually than it used to cost me to buy a license to install it. And that license would last me for 18 months. And I think one of the things that we don't realize with subscription model tech is that the subscription model is designed to optimize the revenue of the provider,
Right.
right? And so when, you were selling Adobe to companies and you were selling one software license per seat and it was $1,500 for the software, well, okay, I'd go down to my local store. I bought the software in my local currency. I paid my 1,500 bucks and I got my discs. And I didn't have to pay for it again. And I might not have to upgrade it for 18 months to 2 years. Right. And I was part of the marketing group that was like, well, this subscription model actually could have more people be more current, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so the original subscription models were based on every 18 months, roughly, you would pay for a license renewal. And so the revenue stayed. But now you look at it and you go, there's no way that this model is still viable because companies are paying so much more than they were for software and the value hasn't changed, right? I heard an interesting um, economic argument that it is now, and I won't get into this because it's a deep conversation for another day, but there's a rent being charged by technology companies that does not have an associated value, that is pulling money out of businesses. It's a deeper conversation, but it certainly does happen in your company. I mean, your client with 750 subscriptions,
It's
that's a
pretty.
lot of rent for a house you're not living in.
Well, you're exactly right. And it's funny that you said that you do this annually. I actually do it twice a year. And I like my clients
Wow.
to do it twice a year. And I just did it this morning.
Uh-huh.
That's so funny. And it is interesting because you look at it and you've got to ask all those questions. The other question I'd like to add to that list we know that SaaS evolves. It has a development roadmap. And so if you used to have three purpose-built apps or subscriptions, maybe you don't need three purpose-built apps or subscriptions anymore because app A, well, it now has everything that B and C did. So
Right.
you don't need, you have app A, B, and C, but now you can actually go down to just app A and
Yeah.
it will
And
function just fine.
actually, I have a great example of that. I have a great example because as you know, I went through the nightmare of a CRM transition last year. And as I'm getting more competent, um, and recognizing more of the features in my new CRM, it has a membership platform built into it.
Yeah.
It has, hosting platform built into it. And I'm looking at this and I have a membership tool that I have been paying for a decade. And I'm like, I don't think I need this anymore. It might be time to just, the website that it's built on is due to be upgraded. I was like, I don't think I need to actually upgrade the website. I just need to migrate everything into my CRM and I can get rid of that. And not only, and this is the thing, not only is that going to drop my tech budget in the spring, and they're annual. I don't pay for the monthly. It's an annual, right? So it's a hit every spring. So it's going to eliminate that hit, number one. But number two, it's also going to eliminate the overhead of managing the website that's associated with it, the learning platform, right? It's a knowledge based platform for my clients. That's all going away. I will just migrate it to my CRM. And so, there's so much more to managing technology. The cost of tech is the tip of the iceberg, everything else around it.
Without a doubt. Now I
Now,
know we are at the end of time. So couple last comments from each of us.
sure. I'm just going to say if you have, because you're our COO, if you have a way to clean out the passwords in your password storage account and get rid of all of the ones for stuff that doesn't exist anymore, that isn't going to take me days and days and days, I'm all ears. Maybe you can share that with me offline because that's the other side of tech bloat is a password bloat.
Oh, oh, you know it. We'll talk offline. That took me sideways. I forgot there was one more thing. I said, "Oh, that's what it was," because we were talking a little bit about something with COVID related stuff before we got on this call, and that's the other thing that happened a lot more in COVID that doesn't happen now. When you review your tech stack, hey, I'm going to also negotiate with my supplier. Why not ask? What's the worst thing they're going to say? No. Mm.
Yeah.
But they could say yes. That could mean that you are giving, you're getting something else. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
All right. We are unfortunately at time. I have a sneaking suspicion you and I could talk tech stack substantially longer than this. But everyone, thank you so much for paying attention today. I know we didn't do our DMs and we normally would do that, but we'll get back to those at some point unless Paul and I have another topic that's just burning in our minds and we want to discuss.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We'll see you guys all next week.
Take care.